Hi, I'm Jenna.
And I'm Heather.
And this is Conspiracies Unlocked. And we are going over our 1984 book by George Orwell, Chapter 1, Part 4. If you're just tuning in for the first time, go back to Part 1 at least. The intro or Part 1. Go back. Don't start here. You'll be sad. So, the book, this chapter, this part, was very... I had to go from book, chapter, part, like subdo it. It was a pretty easy read, and it's mainly just talking about Winston's work, his job, what he does, what other people do. So,
it does show us a lot of insight to his daily work environment and who he is working, his peers that he works with, and a little bit more insight to a few aspects of the ministry. And that's pretty much what it touches on.
And, okay, so a few things. They refer to... So, Winston's job is pretty much to rectify old print to ensure it looks like Big Brother had predicted what would happen, just like the Mandela effect, except he is the one changing the memories of the past. Right? That's a pretty well just summarized. Now we'll go in and explain it a little bit more.
I mean, it's basically he's like in charge of the propaganda.
Yeah, he sits at a computer all day. They send him down a message through a tube, and it says little phrases like, and it's all in code almost, almost shorthand.
Yeah.
It's very shorthand, like change BB for Big Brother, this, August of the times.
Different forecasts.
So it lists like 3 or 4 things that he needs to do. So he starts doing it, so he has to go and get either the newspaper to rewrite the story. So, once he's done doing that, he has to throw away the old newspaper, and they call their trash bins memory holes. And that's paper that is burned immediately.
It just incinerates it, right?
Destroyed.
Yeah.
And it seems so ominous and final. Like, it just seems so... Like, we throw things away all the time, but it just seems so, like, just as soon as you put it in, it's just gone. And they're all over the place. And it's that way there's no record of the past. There's no record of anything. So, let's say that someone let's say that the president said... I don't know. The taxes, taxes will go down by 20% next year, and then all of a sudden, taxes didn't, and in fact, they went up 20%. Then Winston has to go through and rewrite every piece of article that says that it's gone up or down, and rectify it to make it correct.
It even talks about something like, of course, like something the president says is something very important because that's coming from the president. But it even goes down to the very tiny little chocolate, the chocolate rations. Yeah. Even that, when that got changed, he had to go back and he had to do the mal-coated of the chocolate to rectify the chocolate for the mini plenty.
Yeah, because it was
it was a mal-reported.
Yeah, because it wasn't reported correctly because they were supposed to have 40% and they went down. There wasn't supposed to be any ration, right? Or no, there wasn't supposed to be so much.
They changed the ration.
Yeah, they ended up changing it, but they had said, it's going to be. We're not going to change the ration. We're not going to do this. Everything's going to stay the same, and then they end up lowering it, so he had to go through and edit all this stuff.
Or like the boots. When he was talking about the boots, when they talked about the boots, like they make boots, like shoes for the people, and they only get so many clothing rations.
Oh, yeah.
Boots. He had to rectify the report of the boots, but in reality, he had known, and it was known that they probably didn't even make any boots. But they had to put out the information that they made so many. Yeah. But in reality, they didn't even make any, probably.
It's almost like the upper corporate CEO people, like, make up their forecast. Like, we need to do this by this date, and then it doesn't happen, so they have to make up for it somehow or lie to keep their jobs, hide things like that almost. But worse. So, they don't just do this with things that people are saying, they do this with the historical events. So if anything that goes against what they believe in right now gets destroyed. So when somebody gets vaporized and there are any stories about them, anything that they have done, said, anything has to be destroyed, altered, done. So he works in the printing part of it. So newspapers, magazines, stuff like that. Where another lady in this chapter works in the recording department, and they have to re-record videos, fake photographs. They have voice actors.
Yeah.
They have every kind of everything in order to cover up what really happened. Whether it is a real actor playing something, fake photographs, like just everything. Mm-hmm. They have to fix cartoons. They have to fix music. They have to fix literature, books, media, like just everything. And this process of continuous alteration was applied not only to newspapers, but to books, periodicals, pamphlets, posters, leaflets, films, soundtracks, cartoons, photographs, to every kind of literature or documentation which might conceivably hold any political or ideological significance.
Yeah.
And that is a quote from page 40. Just so you know, I didn't make that up. That was words by George Orwell. All history was a this is also from Orwell. All history was a palimpsest, scraped clean and reinscribed exactly as often as was necessary. So when somebody would vaporize, well, when they would die, vaporize, it was like they never existed.
They would just annihilate them.
Bye. Yeah.
And then it even says that even the written instructions in which Winston received while working, he had to get rid of those as soon as he had dealt with them, as if they never stated or implied any act of forgery. So that's when, like, even his own notes, when you were saying that it was incinerated, even his own notes, everything had to be incinerated.
Everything has to go, because then that's a paper trail
Exactly.
Of them changing everything, and they can't. So much of this chapter just goes back to the Mandela effect. Like, all of my notes on this chapter is like Mandela effect. Like, everything is. So it's almost like, are they doing that to us? And I felt so much like, so far up until this part of the book, everyone had said how much this book is kind of coming true today and all that, and it just. This book actually really did. This part of the book, is when I started to realize, like, and see similarities.
Sure.
Because we do have the Mandela effect. Is it just random people? Is, just their minds are glitching and they forget? But there's a whole crowd. It'd be half the world that thinks one way and the other half thinks this way.
It just shows, like, the whole time I was reading this part, I was just thinking about the parallel to our news and our media, and how much they do manipulate us,
and they change everything
for their agenda, and that's basically his job. And it made me think, like, how many people in our modern day have similar jobs where that is the narrative is to kind of tweak it to what fits what that news wants to project to it, because every news is going to have a different way they want to present it.
Yeah, like the Fox News, CNN News. They're both saying the same thing, but putting their own biased twist on it.
Exactly. Yeah.
But could you imagine only having one of those?
Yeah,
and that's
only
it.
One.
There's only one. You're not allowed to think anything else, or else you will be vaporized.
Yeah.
So whether it's Fox or CNN, whatever,
it's just the ministry.
Just that one. That's it. That's all.
That's all you have. You have nothing else.
And Winston is able to justify what he is doing because he sees it as he's just redoing the same bullshit over again. It's all bullshit. It's all fake. So he's just faking the fake news over again to be fake. Because they've already manipulated it, because they've changed, like, everything.
Yeah, how many times has it already been changed,
and now they're changing it again. So that's how he justifies it. And I wonder if that's why he's able to kind of, like, see through the BS and have these, like, thoughts of other things. Like, whenever in the last part where he had, where he woke up and he had the word Shakespeare on his mind. Shakespeare wouldn't be there. First of all, Shakespeare's dead. And his ideas don't go along with what is going on there.
Yeah.
So he's long gone, nothing. And I wonder if Winston only knows about it because of him being the one to do this. So he knows what's going on, so he's able to kind of...
Oh, yeah, and also he's inside, so he's seeing the notes from the ministry.
Yeah, so he's seeing everything.
So he's seeing
everything. He's seeing what is given to him.
Yeah, but he's seeing the notes of what they want him to change it to, so that's going to pique his interest in him even more.
Like,
so, like, why are we changing this specific fact for... You know, why are we changing? Why are we manipulating this?
And I bet this is exactly the reason why they are not allowed to fraternize with the lower social class people,
or even fraternize with each other, and
they can't fraternize with each other.
Yeah, as you know, we were introduced to somewhat introduced. He had mentioned that he had worked near another person, Tillotson, and
which is in the cubicle across the hallway, and they explained what the cubicles look like.
Oh yeah.
Remember his cubicle as long hallways and no windows, and he didn't talk to anyone, not even a coworker next to him, which was named Tillotson. And you know what that reminds me of? I don't know if you remember The Incredibles, but in the beginning of The Incredibles, because all the superheroes had to go into hiding, and Bob was at the insurance.
I do remember that.
And he was in this little tiny cubicle, and they're all just like rows.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is what that reminds me of. All these little tiny cubicles with nowhere to go, and you're just all scrunched up, and it's all
like
dark, and you're in jail.
There.
Like, there's your cell for the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so he looks over at Tillotson, and Tillotson is like covering his mouth, talking into the, what is it called? The
Newspeak. Is it Newspeak?
No,
right?
it's not Newspeak. It's called Telespeak.
Oh, sorry.
Or it's
Newspeak is a language.
Yeah, Newspeak is the language, and then it's like Telespeak. So it's pretty much a microphone that you talk into, and then it writes everything down for you. So you're not writing anything.
Speak right. Sorry.
Speak right, because you speak, and then the computer writes it for you. So it's kind of like Siri is now, and Android, when you talk to text.
Yeah.
It's just like talk to text, except I'm sure it's more accurate because my talk to text never messes up. Always messes up. It's never correct.
Or Siri's always like, I'm sorry, I can't help you with that. And I'm like, why not? I thought you knew everything.
Right? No, she don't know shit. She doesn't understand it half the time. Even in my car, I'll be like, call Brad, and it'll be like, call Walmart Supercenter? Like, what the fuck? And then I have to, I was telling you earlier, I had to, whenever I talk to my car and I would call Sierra, I would have to say Kiera.
Oh, yeah.
Because it doesn't understand the C for the K, or the K, whatever, that the C makes us sound,
Oh my gosh. So then, he also has a little woman with sandy hair that works next to him, and her day-to-day was simply tracking down and deleting from the press the names of people who had been vaporized and therefore considered never to be in existence. So even her own husband had been vaporized a couple years ago.
Isn't that insane? I wonder if she's the one that had to take him out of existence.
I mean, can you imagine if you had to wipe away your spouse?
Off of every photo, everything that his name was ever mentioned in,
the birth records, everything. Even death records wouldn't exist.
Yeah,
Nothing.
I wonder if she did that or someone else. Because we also found out that sorry, I know I interrupted you. What else did you want to say about that?
Oh,
the
no,
lady?
I was just
about the lady. I'll talk about the man.
No, that was all I was just noting that even in his own work environment, that it's so secretive what everybody does. Even these people, like you said, that work cubicle right next to each other, they are like little prisons. You don't know what anybody's doing. Everything is incinerated, all your notes. And this lady who's in charge of not in charge of vaporizing people, but in charge of getting rid of the
deleting
records
their existence
of the people. It's not on her. She gets the orders. Okay, you need to. Heather needs to be annihilated. Okay, she's going to go in there. She's going to wipe everything out that has to do with me.
Yeah.
But she can't tell anybody else who she's wiping out or nothing. Everything is so secretive. I feel like it would be like a scary work environment.
Yeah, right. Very toxic. Yeah. And I was going to talk about that later, about the work environment. So I'll get to that because I have, an opinion on that as well, how toxic it has to be. But they did say, like, that they also had a vast printing room and a building to just redo everything. Because could you imagine having to take every single newspaper, magazine, publication, anything that was printed and destroy it all and just redo? Do you know how much?
You'd be constantly working.
All the time. Like, how much paper, how much waste, how much everything that would take. It would just be a constant, like, every time that somebody, well, I guess, so supposedly if they die, just because they die of old age, they die of something, like, you know, naturally, then not vaporized, because to be vaporized means that you did something wrong, so you get erased. But if you're just, if you die naturally, then you get to be remembered. So it's not like every time somebody dies, but it's like every time somebody does something wrong, which I'm sure is like 99% of the time, you know? Like, could you imagine thinking wrong and then being vaporized and then somebody just erasing everything and then having to redo everything that you know?
Well, it's really scary because, like you're saying, the amount of stuff that on a daily basis would have to be rewritten or altered.
And it's even to children books. They said, like, spelling books and everything.
I mean,
and I don't even understand spelling books. What are they going to do? Change the way?
Yeah, how are you going to change the spelling?
Well, I guess they do with Newspeak.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a new language, so I don't know. Anyways, go on.
Well, it even says here that there were armies of reference clerks whose job was simply to draw up a list of books and periodicals which were due for recall. So talk about, like, banned books.
Yeah.
I mean, they had armies of clerks.
Yeah.
Armies of clerks. So, reference clerks. So that's, like, I don't know how much an army is. Like, what would be an army? Like, at least
thousands of people just to go and find all these books, every book and publication that has so-and-so written in it, or magazine or newspaper.
They're just going around burning books. Anything that has to do with the past, they're just burning books.
That, I didn't even read it quite like that, but yeah, no, ultimately that's what they're doing. And it says everything from statue to slogan was precisely articulated in a way to represent whatever Big Brother wanted the people to believe.
Oh, yeah.
I think that was a quote from the book.
Oh, yeah, I remember reading
it was,
that.
yeah. And then, this fun fact, that no party member or those in the ministry could read, look at, or partake in the lower level media books and publications. Mm-hmm. So they had their own, like, they had sports, they had entertainment, they had all the things to dumb you down.
Well, music, drama, literature, entertainment,
media things. Yeah, entertainment.
So I'm thinking, like, TMZ.
And I was thinking, like, the Super Bowl or dramas, like, you know, just...
Or award shows,
Gossip
like
Girl.
Grammys, anything.
Grammys, Gossip Girl, the OC, Family Guy, Simpsons. Like, that's all for the lower level people. And Winston is not allowed to look, read, do anything, be a part of that. Because I think that they're trying to dumb down the citizens of the lower working class, or whatever they're doing down there. I don't know. I guess they still have to have a working class like everybody else.
Well, yeah, definitely, because that's
Winston's
one
like
way to control them. That's
one
way to control them is with the media. Just like they say now, that's parallel to what is going on now. Like, what did we just have? We just had the Super Bowl. Yeah. And what is everyone talking about? Rihanna's performance.
Yeah, instead of the weather balloon that they shot down and all the UFOs on that same weekend.
Exactly. And we love Rihanna, by the way, but it's just a hot topic right now.
Yeah, you know? Just to, like, look the other way.
Yeah.
And, like, we didn't even find out about the UFO things. I didn't find out about any of them until Monday morning.
And that's exactly what they're talking about in the book. It's where they're going to use that to manipulate and control the public.
So I have this written down. Lower level people only had access to mundane things like sports, astrology, films with sex, sentimental songs, and 5-cent novelettes. Yeah. And then do the porn thing for the Newspeak and Newspeak.
So that was interesting to me that there is even a whole subsection called pornosec, and it was called that in Newspeak, and it engaged in producing the lowest kind of pornography, which was sent out in sealed packets, and which no party member other than those who worked on it were permitted to look at. So it was only for the lower class. And if you were a party member and you worked on it, like any kind of director or whatever, your role was in producing it,
then you
can look at it, because obviously you need to look at it for your purpose of creating it. But other than for and entertainment purposes, you were not permitted.
And listen to how, just really quick, I'm starting to understand newspeak. Yeah. Because it's not news speak, it's newspeak. Like new and then speak.
Oh, you're right.
I know. Yeah. I thought it was news as well for a long time, but now I have to keep retraining my head because it's new speak.
It is new
but
speak.
It's new. It's one word. And what I've noticed is that they take parts of words and just mash them together, like two words. So porn sec would be, what I understand would be like a 30-second clip of porn.
Porno sec.
Porno sec. So it'd be a 30-second, like a couple second, like a quick little pornographic session of just a minute.
Which makes sense, because it would just be to kind of rot your mind a little bit. Just to throw that little pornographic image in there, or that little content in there, just to get you,
thinking bad things.
Well, whatever, to elicit some kind of emotion that they want you to feel. Maybe shame, or maybe I'm not saying it's shameful.
It should be excitement.
I know. Well, I'm not saying it's shameful to look at porn, but I'm just saying that for different people it could be different things, and they're trying to get these little triggers.
And
basically.
What was the word that they actually used? Like really disgusting, low class porn. So maybe it is like a almost like a shameful.
I just looked at it as that they were using it as almost like a weapon. I mean, it doesn't say that in here, but they were using it to.
I think everything in this world is a weapon.
Yeah.
I think that you should be scared of everything in this world.
Yeah. Like they weren't doing it to be like, hey, let's give them some excitement and fun in their world, and let's give them some porn to look at.
There's a reason.
It's like, let's fuck with them.
It's systematically done for a reason.
Yeah.
So what I was gonna...
Or for like an addiction, if people have addiction, because a lot of people have addiction to porn.
Oh,
even to this day, like even now, people are addicted to porn. It's like
even to this day, as if that really happened.
like it's a huge problem,
Yeah.
And so I think that's what they're trying to touch on. They're trying to get to those people.
Yeah. What I was gonna say is that it's almost that the newspeak is almost like what we do on the internet. Whenever you ship something, relationship. Oh, I'd ship that. Or I'd ship them. I don't know how to use it because I'm not 15, but
no, I know what you mean.
The ship.
Yeah.
And then AF for as fuck. It's like everybody's shortening these words, and it is like newspeak.
It is. Yeah. It's like the slang.
It's a slang. Yeah. But that's now their language, which in 20 years, we always say like, because that's what was happening then, and in 20 years everyone's gonna be like, ship that, or I'd ship them, or however you say it. And it's the only one that I could think of. But when you start realizing there's so many just
on
like
God, on God. There's so many.
I don't even know what
on God.
What's the other one? Bussin'. I don't even know what that's short for.
Well, bussin' is just like it's like the bomb. It's like bussin'.
Yeah, but what is that short for?
I don't know. It's just bussin'. Or like Riz. Riz is like, what's your Riz?
What's a Riz?
Riz is like, what's your game? Like, can you like pick up that chick? Can you pick up that guy?
Or what when they're like no lie or something like that? Or what's the one?
No cap or cap. That's
cap.
like lie.
No cap. Like, because you're gonna put a cap in your ass.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
Cap is like when you're lying.
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm sure there's a reason why those words.
I don't know how these words came about, but I have teenagers, so I'm learning them, bruh.
All right, bruh.
Now we sound like old people.
I know it's so bad. I just want to stick to the Facebook.
Hey, I'm only 29. Okay.
We're forever 29.
We're forever 29. Just so you know.
So anyway,
so then the 2 minutes of hate started. No, because it interrupted him. So after the whole porno, we got sidetracked. After the whole porno incident here, then it actually turned into the 2 minutes of hate. So they didn't really get into the 2 minutes of hate.
No.
But it was just noted that even during your busy work week or work day of, having to change the entire world's history and view, then you get interrupted with your 2 minutes of hate. And you have to stop what you're doing. You have to listen to your 2 minutes of hate.
On the telescreen.
On the telescreen in your workplace.
Talk about jail cell.
Talk about toxic. And then after you get basically verbally abused and your mind gets fucked with, then you have to go back to work.
So exciting.
Yay! Just a normal day.
Love the work ethic.
Just a normal day here.
So, what I have next is that Winston job was his greatest pleasure.
Yep.
And I can tell, like, I get why.
Yeah.
Because he's doesn't have anything else to live for. I mean, what else are you doing? And he enjoyed doing this. It was busy work, and he would get really hard cases, and he enjoyed it. So,
but it's kind of like creative too, because you get to like rewrite things.
Yeah,
so.
and he said that he was really good at it, and he had this like sense of pride.
Yeah.
In what he did. So it's like he gets, and I'm sure that he gets better things. It would be like a politician today. You're not a good person, but you get better things because you're there.
Yeah.
As opposed to us working people.
Well, he has his perks for sure.
Yeah, he probably gets more rations or something. I'm not sure, but
we'll learn more about what the perks are. But he definitely does have more perks than the general population for sure.
Yeah, and then so this was a fun story. Did you read this part about how Big Brother once loved the FFCC, who supplied the cigarettes to the sailors?
Yep, I saw
And then for some reason, the FCC had suddenly, or FFCC.
FFCC. Yeah.
FCC is what Eminem's always like. Fuck the FCC.
It's
I don't know what it even stands for.
I think it's the FCC. I think that Eminem's talking about is like
for the language,
like the I don't know exactly what it is, but it's it has to do
because
with like
everybody,
you can't say that you can't say fuck. You can't say fuck.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, just like Howard Stern had to have his own channel. Because of that. Because of the FCC.
Yeah.
Anyways, so the FFCC that supplied the cigarettes had suddenly dissolved, so everything had...
FCC. You keep saying FCC.
Y'all know what I mean. There's 2 F's and there's 2 C's. Whatever the fuck FFCC is, we don't even know what it means. So everything...
I love that you referenced Eminem.
I love Eminem!
So do I!
I wish he would come back for the Super Bowl halftime. Anyway,
know.
So for some reason, the FFCC didn't suddenly dissolved and everything had to be deleted. So it was like the FFCC never existed. So once something ends or something's over, then it's like cigarettes never existed. The FFCC never existed. So now they have to go through and take out every cigarette out of every magazine, book, literature, anything that mentions a cigarette, anything that mentions the FFCC.
That is wild.
That is so crazy just to do like on that. Could you imagine every
who
photograph?
Has time for that? Like that's all we have is time, I guess.
Yeah, that's all they can do. So Winston had to edit a story about the FFCC, and instead of doing it he decided that he couldn't just edit it out. He needed to make a whole new story.
Yeah, it was
Did you notice
too
that?
much to edit.
Yeah, it was the whole thing or whatever.
It was like delete. Might as well. You got to rewrite the whole thing at that point.
Yeah. So he made up on the fly an entire article about this man.
Yeah. What else are you gonna do?
Yeah. And this man, though, he was a war hero. He did this. He went into his background, and then he had to send to get photos.
Yeah.
Because he's not in charge of the photo, so I would assume that he's like, oh, they'll make a really good made-up photo for this guy, like a card, like a stock image of this guy being a war hero that died at 23, like, whatever.
And see, that's probably what he loved about his job, where you're going back to, like, that he's saying that he loved his job and what he did, because he did get to be creative.
Yeah, he did get to use his brain and think and do things instead of just... mundane nothingness.
I mean, it sucks for the general population because they're going to believe that this really went down and happened, but I mean, it's at least it's like a little escape for him.
Yeah. And there was Comrade Withers. That was part of the FFCC thing, and so he was a prominent person in the party.
He was in the inner party.
He was in the inner party, so he was even higher up than Winston. And those type of people, they're so high up that they get to go on trial. They don't just vaporize.
Yeah, and he was actually singled out for a special mention and award, a decoration of the Order of Conspicuous Merit, 2nd class. So that's what Comrade Withers he actually he was like recipient of that award,
and so he was a high up special award. And then for some reason he had something to do with the FFCC. Everything went down, and Winston has no idea why Withers had been disgraced. Maybe simply because Big Brother thought he was too popular, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Or he just plainly, because this is what had to happen at random to keep the government going and everything in place and what everything is supposed to be. I mean, just like his parents knew, like in the last part, his parents knew that this was the only way. They had to die so Winston could survive.
Exactly.
But why, I don't.
And then it does say that like 3 months after Comrade Withers received that award, the FFCC had suddenly just dissolved with no reasons given. And like you said, nobody knew why he was disgraced. So something went down that like goes higher up.
That nobody really knows. Yet. And we don't even have, we probably will never find, well, maybe we'll find out because we're the
They might backtrack because they kind of do go back and forth.
Yeah, this chapter was really hard because it did go back and forth a lot because it's just, it's Winston just kind of in his brain just bouncing back and forth, and I feel like this whole book is kind of be like that, just bounce back and forth because we're in his brain, we're just thinking. So he's looking over, and then he's looking over at this, then he's looking over at this, and then this happened. So he's just processing, and we're in his mind processing with him. You know?
And the thing that I thought was interesting is when it after the FFCC was dissolved, it goes into Winston kind of thinking about the Great Purge and how thousands of people with public trials of the traitors, the thought criminals, basically, they had to confess to their crimes because there's really no other choice. They were executed, but there were actually like special showpieces where they would reappear a couple years later, and then they would be never heard of again. So it was almost like let's say I do a crime and they're just gonna kill me, I'm gone. But maybe my crime was like stealing bread or something, I don't know. But if somebody did something bigger, they're gonna put it out there more and more and more for like newsworthy type of media stuff, and then I'm gonna kind of disappear, and then I'll reappear, and then they're gonna show like an execution. They're gonna make like a spectacle. Because there was the
execution,
but they're gonna make it more of a spectacle.
Yeah,
where the people, it says, people who had incurred the displeasure of the party simply disappeared and were never heard of again. But in some cases, they may not even be dead. Perhaps party people personally known to Winston, not counting his parents, had disappeared at one time or another. But so basically, like, you don't really know, like, if they're dead or if they just disappear.
Yeah, you don't know what happened.
You don't know what happens. And if it's a big enough case, they're going to make a big spectacle of it,
and then
they're
you
gonna
might find out.
They're going to show the execution like almost like in medieval times when like everybody would come out and they'd watch beheadings.
Yeah.
It was like
that's
big
like that. Yeah,
deal.
exactly.
Yeah.
So so he so what I was saying before is that he chose to write about the commander. He made up Commander Ogilvy, who had recently died a hero in battle, and he would write a few sentences and throw in a fake picture, and that would be a complete fake person written into reality.
Yep.
And what's weird is that he looks over at Tillotson, who's covering his hand, like kind of secretly talking into the speak right, and he thought that, and he wondered if Tillotson was working on the same project as him, and whose story would get published.
Oh yeah, because they don't know what they're working on. So
yeah, they don't know anything, and it's like, so they could have 10 people working on the same thing and then pick one, which I would think would be so counterproductive. But then again,
who's more creative?
Who's more creative? Yeah,
it's gonna get the people either, and whatever you want to put to the people. You want to make the people more fearful. You want to make them more, whatever you want to try to.
Yeah.
Emotion
so I'm sure that
put on the
some people do better with fear. Some people do better with just calmly erasing somebody, and some people, And this is also when we find out they refer to Tillotson as his rival. So for whatever reason, he's a rival, which I feel like why. They don't know anything about anybody.
But they are kind of competing for stories. In a sense.
Well, so
Like
they are
in a
journalistic,
professional way.
journalistic, and the party probably try to pit everybody against each other to keep them so no one would become social with each other, and they would have more control over all of their workers. And then, if everyone is rivals, I wonder if there's a certain worry that if their edit isn't chosen enough, will they themselves disappear? Almost like they're being fired from their job, but instead of just their job, it's from their life for non-production.
Oh, true.
And they would be vaporized.
Their work isn't good enough.
So, and you know too much, you can't do anything else, so you're vaporized now. So I wonder if that's a constant worry with Winston and his coworkers, that they too will become vaporized because they're not good enough.
I didn't think about that, but that makes sense, because even though there's
how toxic of a workplace is that? That's what I told you. I was like, I have a big-ass opinion on that.
Yeah, exactly, because it's like, even though they incinerate all of the notes, even their own, after each project they work on, they still remember what they've written and read. Yeah. So they literally would have to be, if they got fired from their job, they would be fired from their life. Yeah. Yeah,
there'd be no other way. There'd be nothing. So how scary is that for everybody?
It's really scary.
So these people are just so far in this dystopian world. All we're seeing is people working, having the hate speeches all the time at random.
Yeah.
And that's it. That is it. And exercise every so often. For a few minutes.
It's not even every so often.
I think it's
every
when
morning. They tell you have to do your PT, that's it.
Yeah, they say jump and you say how high. Yeah.
They're watching you to make sure you're doing it perfectly.
So far this book is pretty intense.
It is really intense. And I feel like...
Do you have anything else to add on that chapter? I'm all done with my notes.
No, the only thing I was going to add was just a little bit about that comrade. Oh, I can't even pronounce the name.
Yeah, Comrade Gilvey. It's the fake guy. He's not real.
I know, but it's Ogilvy.
Yeah, Ogilvy.
And my brain doesn't compute. But I was just going to say that the way that he's described, the way that he's written, I guess, because he's not real, right?
Yeah.
The way that he's written, it's pretty gnarly, because it says that he refused all toys except for a drum and a machine gun and a model helicopter when he was 3, and by the time he was 6, he was already in relaxation of the rules, so he was cool with everything, and then he joined the spies at 9, and he was already a troop leader. So it's boom, that
and nobody he made up this whole person, and nobody is going to question the reality of his story, because that could be a real life thing.
But the thing is for him to make up this person that they didn't want any toys, and by the age of 9 they were already a leader in the spies. That just shows you how intense this world was, that somebody would read that and believe that was a real person.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They wouldn't, they're not going to question the reality, because that's how this world is.
Can you imagine now, a 3-year-old,
wanting a machine gun?
And that's the only toy, and a drum. Probably a drum, because they're
beat it. Yeah.
We're coming,
yeah.
The beat of the fucking drum.
The beat of the war, the drum war, the war drum.
Yeah, war drum, machine gun, and a helicopter, so I can shoot down at you with my machine gun and the helicopter. It's all war.
It's all war shit.
And that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I believe that.
It adds up.
Why not?
It's fine.
Yeah. Because that's the world that they're living in. Thank God we're not there yet. Yeah. Hopefully we don't get there. Alright guys, so that was our chapter 1, part 4 of 1984, and we will be back next Monday with part 5. And don't forget to
share, subscribe, and
thanks for listening.
Thank you so much.
Bye.